And so Jesus said that unless your righteousness exceeds that of the Pharisees, you will by no means see the kingdom. And the truth is that the righteousness of the Pharisees only understood a righteousness that was based upon works. That's all they knew, was how to be righteous based upon the law and doing and not doing things. And the truth is that we cannot, that's not good enough. All of our righteousness is like filthy rags, the Lord says. All of our works of righteousness, they could never amount to a level to where they would grant us entrance into the kingdom of heaven. And so Jesus is saying, unless your righteousness exceeds the righteousness of the Pharisees, you will never enter in. And the truth is that we needed to have Christ's righteousness, and we still need to have Christ's righteousness. And what happens is when we were born again, he gave us his righteousness as a gift, and it's now ours, but we start to try and make our own righteousness again based upon works, and then we fall from grace because we're no longer walking in God's righteousness. We're no longer believing with our heart. We're trying to, by our own flesh, become righteous, not knowing that we already have become righteous. And that's a huge issue. It causes so many problems in people's lives. It really, really does. And that's why Paul wrote, he said, the righteousness of God has appeared apart from the law. The righteousness of God has appeared apart from the law. And that was Jesus Christ he was talking about. He is the righteousness of God that is apart from the law. And the truth is that Jesus Christ did fulfill all of the laws and even sacrificed himself so that what was inside of him, the righteousness of God, could be given to people outside of him. And he touched us with what was in him, the kingdom of heaven, the blood, the pure and undefiled blood. It got onto us, and now it became us. We became it, and this is foundational. This is foundational because we can only have righteousness based on faith in God's righteousness. You see, our righteousness comes by having faith in God's righteousness. And do you know what defines God's righteousness? God's righteousness is defined in that he was faithful to save his children by a promise. He was faithful to his promise to save his people. And God ordained it in a way as to where it had to only be through faith. You see, because since it is through faith in Jesus Christ and not in ourselves and our own works, God gets all the glory, right? And since it's in faith in Jesus Christ's righteousness and not our own works of righteousness, God gets all of the praise. And it abolishes boasting, because there is absolutely no reason to boast or brag about having attained to righteousness or having gotten into heaven based upon our own works. You see, Jesus did it. And the only way that we can be saved and have righteousness, his righteousness, is by believing in what he did and by believing in how righteous he is. And once again, the righteous thing that he did was he was faithful to his promise. So if God didn't promise it, salvation and righteousness to be given to us, then it wouldn't have happened. It's only because God promised it and because he's faithful to his promises and he's capable of fulfilling his promises that we were ever saved or have any righteousness at all. And this is a righteousness that is beyond the righteousness of the Pharisees and apart from the law. It's greater than the Pharisees' righteousness, and it's greater than a righteousness based on works of the law. And that's the righteousness that we must tap into if we are going to fulfill the call on our lives, is that we have to walk in grace, and we have to believe that all the time. It is even when we're obeying God, and even when sometimes we might fall short in a way, that we are still covered in the blood of Christ, and because of that, we have his righteousness. If not, we'd all be dead and perished and in hell right now, because that's what our works actually have earned us. So if we're trying to earn something based on works, the only thing we could ever earn is condemnation. Yeah. But if we have faith in the works that God did and the promises that God has given us, then we can rest and have grace and peace and experience everlasting life all the time.